So I've talked about astrocartography before, but I didn't even know the half of it. I have learned so much more about it. And once you really look at some of the planetary influences of the places that I've lived, it really ties in with all of my soul contract chart too. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today because I tried to do this on my own. So I was only looking at the major planetary lines, but there's local space lines, there's parent lines, and so all of them have an influence when you're in a certain location. And I tried to do this on my own because I am that weirdo where I try to do everything on my own, which is why I show you how to calculate your soul contract chart on your own if you want to, or you know, I just I just feel like I'm trying to help everybody however they need it, however they need this information. That's why I think it's so important. Um, you can either do it on your own or I can do it for you. But with this stuff, I tried to do it on my own and I could not because you have to use two separate websites and you have to guess. So it's not accurate because I'm kind of guessing between the two websites if I'm in the same spot or not. So it did not work, but I broke down and bought this astrology software, and it's a little bit of a clunker to use. I'm not going to lie, but the reports that it gives you are just awesome. And I started offering these on my website because I was running them for some friends of mine. And yeah, my friends were like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Because some of them were like, yeah, I was thinking of selling my house in this area. I was wondering if I should go back there or sell my house. And once we did the astrocartography, it was like, oh, yeah, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And there's a whole bunch of stuff, like great stuff, where, they are now. So, yeah, very interesting. Um, but I thought I would go over the reports that you get. There's an example on my website too. I put up an example of the report for where I live now, which makes so much sense. But I figured we would just go through there just so you can see kind of the parallels between where I've been living and what has happened and my soul contract chart, because that is definitely tracking together. And we'll start with, I have like Mars and Saturn, but it calls it a weak influence, but it's still an influence. And so with Mars, it's like it says I'm really competitive in my relationships, and I am like that. So I noticed that is a thing. And then also Saturn, it says like you're just going to have to work hard, make sure you work hard and stay the course. Well, that ties in with the 10-1 in your soul contract chart because the 10 is all about working hard. So that tracks. But the one that's super interesting to me is this Pluto local space line, because that is the word it uses in there is upheaval. And that's how I feel. Like every time I turn around, everything is just in some sort of upheaval. Not that I wanted it to happen, but it's happening, and I keep having to deal with these big, humongous changes all the time. But the part in there that's really interesting is when it says you have to conduct your affairs with the utmost integrity. Any underhanded behavior, no matter how seemingly trivial, will come back to haunt you. So that is, I have experienced that. Oh, we'll go a little farther. Wait, it gets better. And then it says you have to learn to discriminate, which I'm terrible about. I'm getting better, definitely getting better. You need to make sure that self-seeking people, now I'm interpreting this to mean like narcissistic, kind of a-holes, right? Self-seeking people do not unduly influence you. And that is exactly what happened with, I'm probably going to say most of my relationships up to this point. And one of my relationships, we had a business together. But it was always a battle between the two of us where I was saying, no, we just need to, there is no quick fix. We just need to stay the course and get this done. And he was all about like gaming the system. There's got to be a trick or a cheat or something like that. And eventually he would just like wear me down. And then I would say, all right, whatever. And then, yeah, we would get our ass handed to us because like any sort of um, behavior that is not like of the utmost integrity, like Pluto is going to come in and just wipe me out. And that has happened like over and over and over again. Also, I was thinking well, not some, most of my relationships I've been in have been with, people who are, controlling, narcissistic, and I have to change who I am to be with them. I have to then pretend that everything's okay or not let anybody know what's really going on. And that again ties in with my 7-7 in my physical karma area where I'm not being authentic. I can't really act with integrity in these relationships because I know I'm doing the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong thing when you're in one of these. But again, because you haven't done enough healing, then you go along with it. And right there, you're compromising your integrity. You're not being authentic. So I just thought that was so interesting. And I've met all of this. I mean, sometimes I've moved away. We'll get into that in a minute too. So like sometimes I've moved away from this area, but I've always come back and I've done it several times. And I've always met the same people when I come back to this area, but it's because I needed to, I needed to heal this karma. I needed to transform it, change it. And the only way I was going to do that that's why I keep being drawn back to this area, which it talks about too. So I just thought that was so super interesting. And yeah, it talks about in this North Node line that you have a strong attachment to this location. And so you could reap rewards of past lives. And it says you'll encounter difficult situations as a result of past life mistakes. So that's in a lot of my soul contract stuff too, is that I've probably done some things in past lives that now I'm going to have to make right. And then it says like the lessons I learned, I'm going to teach others later in life, which I'm kind of doing now. So, and then it talks about that in the parent lines also, is that in this area, I'm going to come to terms with the wounds in my life, especially the emotional wounds. And then I'm going to be surprised by my potential for healing. And I'm also going to use this knowledge to help others. So that's exactly what is going on right now. And then in the Pluto, again, there's a lot of Pluto. Let me tell you, Pluto is just all over this place that I keep being drawn back to, but it's there for a reason, right? I'm going to have to get through all this. So here I've always wanted, like every time I learn something, which that's in my soul contract chart too, the 12-3, every time I learn something, I just want to tell people about it because I want, them to be helped too. And that's exactly what this one says, like use your insights and personal experience to help others. And then this is interesting because it says you may discover a particular type of deep therapy which turns your life around. Now, I wouldn't consider the soul contract chart deep therapy, but it has turned my life around. And then I've used that to help other people. Now, the moon and the Venus, I love things to look pretty and all that. And it says like watch out for overspending when you're stressed out, which that's what I have a problem with again with my number 3 in my soul contract chart is, spending money that I shouldn't. So that tracks also. And then this one, the Sun lower, Pluto rising, I feel like this one ties into the 9s in my chart because it says the use and abuse of power, either your own or other people's, will become a focus. And see, that's all about the nine, is because I have one of my nines in the spiritual karma area, which means, yeah, maybe I'm abusing my power. Maybe I've abused my power in the past or even in a past life, or I'm abusing it now by even creating situations that are that make me a victim, right? So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But this so I this program, you can't really like plug your stuff in and just say, oh, tell me where to go. You have to kind of poke around on the map and see, what looks good. And so that's what I did. And I found this area up in Washington State. So the dog and so up there, I've got Venus, my north node, and a sun moon parent line. So it says Venus, obviously, that's just going to be advantageous no matter what. The north node, I'm going to meet people who could help me with my life's purpose or discover my life's purpose. It's a very powerful place to be. And then the sun moon parent line is all about like new beginnings or creating or seeing this new version of yourself. So I was like, we got to go. So I pack up the dog. It was hard. We didn't stay for very long because it's like traveling with a 75-pound toddler who has a special diet. And I mean, let me tell you, it was a lot. But we made it there and back. I felt good there. I felt really good there, but really we weren't there for very long. And I do, here's my conundrum right now, is that what I'm wondering, because I've now been shown this information, right? So I believe that the universe, God, is going to show you things when you need to see them. So I wouldn't have been able to be in a place to even understand this before. And I had to work out a lot of stuff while I've been here. But now my question is, am I ready to go? Do I still have stuff I need to work on? Is this a place that I'm still needing to, use that massive amount of Pluto influence to transform more things? Or can I just scoot up to where like I like Venus, my north node, and the sun and the moon, and kind of chill for a little bit? But I asked my tarot cards, and by all means, I'm not an expert at this yet, but it was an emphatic no, don't move up there yet. So I was like, okay, because the weird thing is my lease is up this week. Like I have to go in and either sign another lease or give my 60-day notice. So this would be a perfect time if I were to just move up there. But internally, I feel like it's not the right thing to do. And then I just got a confirmation from the tarot cards. It's like, no, do not do that. So I'm going to stay put, but I may do some more. Now that I know the dog can handle like a long car drive, because he is 13 years old. It's not like, it's not like he's easy to pick up or any. It was rough, but we made it. So now that I know he can handle that, maybe I just do a little more venturing out to these different lines to maybe get, because every time I had somebody the other day say, yeah, I really love where I live, but I've been called recently to, travel to these different locations, and I didn't know why. And I said, yeah, that makes sense because you're doing something there. You're growing, or you're getting some new insight, or who knows what it is, but there's a reason that you're going there, because you're getting a different energy every time you go around, these different lines. So if you want, I have on my website, I'll put the link in the description, but if you just want to order, like, so let's say you're you're thinking of going somewhere, or you're thinking of moving somewhere, or you're wondering like what's going on where I'm moving, because wow, this is crazy, right? Um, I can do 3 different cities, like anywhere in the world. Or like, let's say you're deciding on a vacation, and like, what if it's just on your Mars line or something? Like, you're gonna have a terrible time. So that's probably not a good location for you to go. There's just so much to look at. So you get one of these reports for every city, which I just find so fascinating. It'll tell you everything you need to know about all the energies that you're going to experience in this location. And so, like I said, I can do 3 of those. It's just $25. And then also, Sylvie, if you're watching this video, I just want to thank you. Sylvie's like, I feel like we've been together since I started this YouTube channel. And she said to me in a comment, maybe you should start like a coaching um, service. And so I did do that. So thank you very much for that push. But the coaching is more like we could do anything. We can talk about your soul contract chart. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, how do I know what my spiritual path is? You know, we can try to zero in on that. We can look at your astrocartography, where if you don't have certain cities, then maybe we can like sort of look at the map together and decide, kind of like I did for myself, oh, this area looks pretty decent. And then sort of zoom in that way. But anything you need help with, you can also book that on my website. So thank you very much, Sylvie. And if you guys need anything, let me know. But I don't know, maybe you were seeing this for a reason, kind of like me. Maybe this is a time that you need to start looking at this stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know.